go ahead and get this party started. We've got this recording going. So, Michael, welcome to another Think Up Thursdays, and we have hopefully people joining on Facebook Live for the first time. So that's pretty cool. We had a few technical difficulties, but we got it worked out. Um, Today is going to be a continuation of what we talked about last week. So just to recap, last week we talked about how we have been leveraging virtual appointments to allow us to do whatever it is that we want to do with that time that's being freed up. And so, one of the limiting beliefs, and just for everyone who missed that, we will be posting that one to YouTube as well as this one. So it's a whole kind of series that we've been doing, and we're going to continue to talk about this topic because this is one of the things that from us, being a top producing team nationally, is we're not talking about something that's hypothetical. We're talking about something that we have taken time to prove, and it's one of those things that I feel like through a lot of coaching that I've been through in my real estate career, one of the worst things that you can do for someone, not just in real estate coaching, but in life in general, is give someone advice and you don't know what you're talking about. And it's something that you haven't done yourself. And so for me personally, I would give a great example of a personal one for me. Uh, I was told that we're in Texas. I was told that Broken Bow, Oklahoma was a great place to invest and have rental properties. I did this based solely on someone who just told me that. I sold my rental property in Florida. Now I have two in Broken Bow that are doing fine, but I probably couldn't sell them right now if I wanted to because there's so much inventory. And if I'd have done a little more due diligence or had someone say like, "Hey, they're building like crazy out there," that may be something I might have reconsidered. It will end up being a really good investment in the end. But again, that just goes to show in the real estate sector, I have been in coaching circles where someone said, "Hey, buy Zillow." And someone has taken that and gone and spent like $10,000 a month on Zillow and then turn around. Hey, it hadn't been going great for us. We're not really doing well. How much are you spending in Zillow? Oh, $0. So you're really just kind of talking out of both ends instead of just being straightforward. It's like, hey, I just heard this from someone else, or this is what someone else said. That is not what we're doing here. We don't want to be in hypotheticals. We want to make sure that we're talking in fact what has worked and not just something that's worked once or twice. It's something that we've been consistently working on. So, what we're going to talk about today is a little more of that partner model and how we're integrating our partner model and how that has freed us up. I can tell you that one of my family's goals personally is to relocate to Tennessee. Well, what does that mean for the team here? It doesn't mean anything for the team here. The team continues to operate like it would. How do you do that if you live 15 hours away or 12 hours away? You use the partner model. And that's the way we do this. And so Michael's going to talk about that a little bit. He may recap a little bit of how we got here, but there's different iterations of that partner model. So I'm going to hand it over to Michael, and we're going to just kind of get this going and get this out there and show you how we really are leveraging other people and other resources to free up our time to do the things that we're best at doing. And I can tell you right now, Michael and I are really great at showing houses. That's not where our time needs to be spent. Michael's one of the best prospectors I've ever seen. That's the lane he needs to stay in. I need to work on running the real estate business and doing big picture stuff and talking to past clients and doing those types of things. So opening the doors is not what it's about. So we're going to get in this partner model now. Michael, tell them who you are and let's hit it.
So Mike McCullough, I do, work side by side with Brent. We, to give it a little bit of context and background on what we're referring to, this has been in the works for a couple of years. A lot of this started a couple of years ago when we had taken a trip out to Park City, Utah, and met with some other team leaders across the country. And one of the things that we heard from someone else was talking about this partner model. And we used an iteration of what was discussed there. And we've been through a process of trial and error with this whole model just in general. And now we've gotten to a point where it's really, really effective and refined. And we're looking at taking another step with it next year. And so when Brent mentions that this is all based in fact and what we've tried out and what we've piloted and what we've gone through, that's absolute fact. But I think some of it depends on the market that you're in, the conditions that you're in. We're in DFW, and DFW is a large place, and we procure opportunities all across the metroplex. And I mean, a drive that I've got tomorrow morning is going to take an hour and a half before traffic even starts to get to a walkthrough. And so that's a really good example of leveraging a partner model. It's, taking an hour and a half to drive, an hour and a half to drive back, spending an hour there at the walkthrough. You're talking about 4 hours worth of work that could be leveraged with someone else to give you that 4 hours to work on some other things. There's a reason why I'm going to that appointment tomorrow, but it's just a really good example of how much time you can get back. And I know a lot of people will express concern about, well, I'm not really sure how I feel about it because I'm not the one that's there that's converting. It all has to do with setting proper expectations. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today with the best practices is setting proper expectations. Because I think at the end of the day, the people that we're working with, all they want to know and all they want to feel like is they're being taken care of. Just because it's a little bit different from how they've traditionally done things doesn't mean that it's better or worse. But I think what you'll see with the partner model is that a lot of it does work to accommodate buyers and sellers a lot more than a traditional agent relationship. And we'll get into that. So,
And Michael, can I add one of the issues that I see, and guilty myself, right, is there's always a limiting belief on what can and can't be done and accomplished in your business. I think for myself, um, coming from a tech background, that I'm always trying to keep up and seeing how things are changing. Look at what AI is doing right now, right? It's going to eliminate so much stuff where we have a process right now. Some people have a process within their teams where they have a transaction coordinator who will, hey, you go show a house and they say, hey, I need an offer written. Oh my gosh, it's due by 5 p.m. and it's 4 p.m. Or just ring my transaction coordinator, and they write it up for you, and by the time you get to your laptop, it's ready to go, right? AI can do all of that now. And so it's just one of those things. And then when we talk about this partner model, when we're talking about virtual appointments, there's a whole company that does this already. It's called Redfin. And people have that easy button. We talked about this last time. There's a reason. It's Staples, I think, that came up with the easy button, right? There's a reason that people gravitate towards that actual easy button. You can like buy one for your desk. People want easy nowadays. And the days of meeting at a Starbucks are really not a thing anymore. I truly believe, in my own personal opinion, is that I don't think the name on the sign or the name on the door really matter anymore. It used to, and so it didn't matter which brokerage you're with. This is why technology, because where do people go now anyway? It's Zillow, it's realtor.com. That's where they start. That's where they find you. And so it's a technology thing. So there is this limiting belief that this partner model can't happen. Now, there are different reasons to do this partner model. Like I said, my reason may be, gosh, I move elsewhere. I know an agent that has a huge team in Atlanta. She lives in Las Vegas. It's totally possible to do what you want to do. Gosh, I want to go on a vacation. That's what we always say to each other. You want to get busy in real estate, plan a vacation, right? So that's where you use that model. I have had times where when I was dating my wife, soon to be wife, 13 plus years ago, and we were in Italy, and I'm sitting there doing deals, and it's like 10 p.m. Italy time, and like I didn't have to do all that if we had implemented this. So Michael, do you mind giving them sort of iteration? I know we learned about this in Park City, Utah. That was with Eric Hatch, who's part of our brokerage, and he's one of the top 20 coaches in the country. He's amazing. What I loved about that was he brought up 3 different people from 3 different parts of the country, and all 3 of them did it differently. And so we thought about, most of them did the model of, I have a salary plus commission on a partner that's in-house. And that salary was something along the lines of like 36,000 plus like 5% of the commission. I do think new agents would gravitate towards that. I also think that where we had a problem with that was, gosh, we've got to take on a salary. And we've got to take on, for us personally, that means health benefits and all kinds of things that are in addition to that salary that ended up being really expensive. And it really didn't work for us because and gosh, thankfully we didn't have that, because when the interest rates went up, salaries were a lot tougher to carry. So we went towards, you have that model, and that second model is, and Michael will go into this, is having just a commission based and it be a larger commission. And we have gone from that model now to just paying per door. And that has been the most cost effective. And so, Michael, turn it back over to you. Go for it.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there's really three different ways to approach it that we've seen and we've tried, practically each one of them. We had agents that were on our team that were still having the opportunity to work their own opportunities and consistently help their clients. The priority was to focus on the what you might refer to as micro team, which is a team within a team. Or, I mean, if you're independent, you're just creating like a little micro team of different cogs in a wheel. And so it really depends on what you're looking at getting out of it. I'll talk a little bit about what I think a lot of people are concerned about with the relational part of it versus the cost part of it, and we'll open the pull the blinds back on the cost part of it. So as far as the relational part of it, I think a lot of people would think, surface level, I want somebody that I know that is an extension of me meeting with clients because they are able to talk to certain things. Well, regardless of model, it's really ultimately not their responsibility to close deals. They want to be a good host, they want to be gracious, but it's also really not their responsibility to know a ton about the house. If you were going to leverage partners, the way that you've got to convey the messaging is just to say, I'm going to be your chief officer here, the one that's going to do all the research, get everything booked, do all the research, talk to the agent on the other side, negotiate all of these things. This person's going to be there to open doors for you and walk you through it. Now, if you use a salaried person, someone that you're very familiar with, you have to wonder, what's motivating this person. It's as much about the partner's motivation as it is yours. I think the third iteration of it, which is using and just paying for doors, is you kind of remove that out of the question. But if you're paying somebody a salary, you have to wonder, well, what's their motivation to be is available if they're getting paid just a flat salary. If you're paying commission based on each deal transacting, then they want to be more available. But you've got to have people that are able to commit full time to being able to do what you need to do. They are going to live in their car. Really, that's the primary function. And it's good to have a good relationship with someone. However, there's a lot of good to it. Having someone that you trust, that when you go out and they show a house, that they're going to treat your clients the way that you would want to be treated. And I think that that's one of the concerns that people have about using a service like Shawami is like, well, I don't know them. I don't know how they're going to do. There's a way to vet that process, and there is a way to rely on good quality folks to do these things for you. But there are some advantages to using people that in office, because again, you can teach them to do things the way that you want to. Doing commission based, and Brent, do you mind if we kind of pull the curtain back on compensation based on each three of these? Because I think it's going to make a little bit more sense if we talk about the direction that we're going and setting proper expectations.
Yeah, we're transparency is what we're all about. I will say that just as an extension of what you just said, the nice thing about having someone in house is that you've trained them. You've trained them to talk like you and be like you. There are pros and cons, and usually the con to it is A, the cost, and B, burnout. And those are the two big ones. And I think burnout will cost you more because now you have to spend time finding someone else. It puts you right back into the production as hardcore. And then you have to train someone else. And that can take a while to find the right person. So, like I said, Michael, just on that salaried, what I've seen around the country is around 36,000 for a partner, and their job solely is, like you said, live in their car. That's what they're going to be doing, is living in their car. And then it's usually 5% commission off the top on that. What we did is we changed that. We changed that model and went commission only. And look, your person for that job is as a partner. We call it partner. We don't like saying showing partner. We like to just say they're our partner. We just think it sounds better, and that's truly what they are. They're partnering with you. So where we did it is we did 10% off the top commission, but we also allowed them to go run open houses, and the full model, salaried model, their splits as a team member was way less if you ran an open house or you had Sphere or anything like that. A lot of times it's like, hey, the model that we were seeing was handing that over. And to me, that felt a little felt just a little greedy and a little gross. And we didn't like that. So as a team, usually our team members are on a 50-50 split. And so for that, if you had your own deals or you wanted to call leads that we provided, it's things like that, I was still allowing a 50-50 split on top of what they were making from working as a partner for us, which was that 10%. So if you think about it, we go sell, we're in Dallas, right? So I won't say our average price point, but just easy numbers, 500,000, right? So 50, you go show 4 houses, you're making $1,500. That's pretty darn good. And then you're out there selling a house or two a month on your own, you're doing pretty well. The downside of that is, well, which one are you going to do? You go show, you called a lead and got a buyer, it's 50-50 split, or you can go show these houses, they're going to make you 10%. That's where you get into this sort of gray area of how you do that. So that's pulling the curtain back. And then clearly option 3, where we're at now, is we pay $50 a door.
And just from my experience, because I've had to go through all 3 of these, just giving you very blunt pros and cons of each. If you have someone in house that you're training to be an extension of you, it's really good, especially if they're going to be handling a lot of the additional meetups, the inspection, if they're going to meet the inspector and the client out there, if they're going to be there for the final walkthrough. It's a really good relationship. The downside to that is that agent may then start to feel like, well, I did more to massage this relationship than the primary agent did, even though I'm on the back end doing all of these things. I can see where if someone's physically spending 3, 4, 5+ hours with someone, then there becomes kind of that, I don't want to say resentment, but like to Brent's point, what are you going to be making the most amount of money? And then there's a feeling, if you have a partner that is being your partner that has been in real estate for some amount of time, you have to start wondering, is this person going to think that this work is, quite honestly, beneath them? It's like, well, I could be doing this. I did this because I wanted to partner with you and do more transactions. The other downside to it is that when you're working with 1, even 2 partners, you're kind of at the mercy of their schedule, and it's very hard to find someone who's extremely motivated and doesn't have a lot of responsibilities outside of work. Because if I talk to a client right now and I say, hey, you want to go and see houses on Saturday, you want to go see 10 of them, that's awesome, let me explain this partner model and who you're going to be meeting with. But then I have to reach out to that person and see if they have the availability to go and do it, just that one person. And if they're busy, it might take a couple of hours to get a response. And when Brent talks about the cost, you have to consider the cost of damaging the relationship if you're not being as timely as they probably want. We live in a society where we want instant gratification all the time, commercials, advertisements, just constantly in your face. And if you're talking to somebody that's establishing a business relationship with you and they say, I'll get back to you soon with this, but it takes you a long time to get back to them because that person that you're working with is already occupied with things, then it's tough. The other part of it, kind of a con, is let's say you have 3, 4, 5 clients that all want to go see in the course of a weekend. If you're only able to leverage 1 partner, maybe 2, you're still then having to go and show yourself, which is kind of defeating the purpose of the spirit of what you're trying to get accomplished anyway. And so real pro of having someone that you are working with closely, that's an extension of you, your person, your, they call it in the market sometimes your empire builder, your partner, is that there's a lot of value to it. However, again, if you set proper expectations, that value can be replaced. And there are a lot of concerns that you do have, again, with availability, morale, burnout, all of those things. And it is costly. It is salary, or you're paying 10%. It's costly.
And Michael, can I add another concern is, if you have the same person going out with the same people, they are building a relationship with that person. And who are the referrals going to go to? And so that's a big concern as well, which is again one of the reasons why and burnout was one of the reasons we were forced to switch to this partner model where we're paying per door. But there's no burnout. And one of the things that we say is, hey, sometimes I always say, look, I have twins, and I used to say it all the time when the twins were babies, right? It's like babies get sick, they get mom and dad sick. Sometimes we can't go show a house. I'm always going to have someone available. That's one of the great parts about having a team. It's like we always have someone available for you. This is with DFW. There, I mean, like you said, I live in Prosper. Like going to show a house in Waxahachie that would take all day to go do that. And what happens when they don't show up? I mean, that's one of the most defeating feelings is when you drive and you spend all that time and prep and all this, and then they don't even bother showing up. So it's one of those things, but you can say, hey, I can show you a house, no strings attached, anytime you want to go see a house, wherever in DFW. And, just let me know the house and we'll get it set up and get going. And so there is the NAR part of that too, that people probably want to know about. And I know that you know the answer to that, but you don't get any burnout because it doesn't necessarily mean the same people. The way we do it is it goes into a pool and people go, yep, I'll do it. I'm in the area. Yeah, I'll go do it. And we have a conversation with that person, and we've already set the expectation with our buyer that hey, we're your chief strategy officer. That's how we do it. That we run it a little bit different, and it really isn't. I don't, and no one's had any pushback with this at all for months and months. No one's had any pushback from this. They say, "Cool, got it, sounds good." And if you do a good job of following up with that agent, following up with that client right after the meeting, what'd you think? What do you think, et cetera? How did it go? And you can even talk to the client about the feedback on that person that showed, because you can request through, and we use Shawami, you can request that same person if they're available. And we've had a couple people in different areas, let's say like the North Dallas area, that, hey, anytime you need me. And that's been a really cool part of this for us, because we've been able to essentially find someone that we know does a good job, and we get feedback on them from the person. One of the other cool things about this is they can run open houses for you. Now, part of me has a little bit, limiting belief here for myself is, why would I pay $50 or whatever for someone to go run an open house for my seller when they're going to be there and get buyer leads? It's like, shouldn't they do that for free? And part of me still thinks that. But guess what? I don't want to go run the open house. That is not where my time needs to be spent. Time needs to be spent on the business, not in the business. And there are other things I'll throw in there too. And so no schedule concerns, run open houses, you don't get burnout. And the other thing too is, where do I spend my time? I want to touch on a limiting belief that I've had to talk to some of my team agents about. I've changed my thought process on home inspections. And I've seen this on, like, if you're part of these big Facebook groups like Lab Coat Agents or somebody like that, that's such a topic once a month. Should I go to my open house or should I not? And I bet within the people that are sitting here right now, we could get into an argument about it. I don't think you should. And I think you should set that expectation, because the last thing you want, I've had so many years of hearing agents that are no longer on my team or I knew in the business that really what they cared about was getting it to the closing table and getting their paycheck. And that is not necessarily that is not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be what's in the best interest of your client and what's in the best. And you have they have hired a professional to get their opinion on the status of the house. What you don't want is for some inspector to scare the heck out of somebody. You also don't want like their dad to show up. That's pretty terrible too. But the biggest part of that for me was, am I getting in the way, and am I using my influence with my relationship with the client to get it past the hurdles of inspections? I do think it's important to use an inspector you trust, to be professional, to be thorough, and to not scare the heck out of people. What we've transitioned to, and I know we're getting sidetracked here on inspections, is we have gone and changed it from like home inspection. It's a home inspection / new home orientation. And we've talked to some of our inspectors. It's like, hey, after you're done, do you mind like showing them how to do things? Like, hey, here's where your hot water here. Here's how to light a pilot light. You can make it fun. You can give them a little silly hard hat and pens and notepads and measuring tapes and all that stuff, and the printout that says, hey, what's the fridge diameters and all these things, and let them go have fun with that process. So then that makes but and again, you're still not there for that. And so I tell my buyers up front, hey, you're going to be at the inspection. I'm not. I think it's important for you to be there with just the inspector. So I don't have my opinion. I'm going to talk to him afterwards, and I'm going to negotiate any repairs that need to be made. But I do not think I need to get between you and the inspector, because he's the professional when it comes to that. And every single time it's like, oh, that makes sense. So again, it's one of those things that another bit to free up your time is that inspection as well. So, Michael, I'll kick it back over to you and talk a little bit more, because if you can, let me ask you a question. I think we do a lot of online lead generation. Okay, well, let's say it's your buddy from college that wants to buy a house. Is there any difference? Are you still using a partner model on that, or a past client? Are you still using the partner model on that when they're buying another house?
I think it's easier to set those expectations with someone that you know on a personal level, because they understand where you're coming from. And I mean, I talk to a lot of my close personal network about what I'm doing in my business anyway. So if it's a past client, say, look, you know what I'm about, you know how I roll, you know how I operate. Look, one thing that I've changed about my business is this. And let's kind of talk about the thing that makes all of this really work outside of setting expectations. Is that from a client's perspective, there's an acronym, WIFM, and it's what's in it for me. When you approach me with something, what's in it for me? How does this impact me? Whenever I talk to somebody, whether they're a past client, a new lead, a client that I'm actively working with, and I'm sharing that, hey, I'm going to have a partner show it to you, what that means to you is that I talk to a lot of people, and we used to be on Zillow, and you know how many calls we would get? People would say, "Oh, I'd really like to go and see this house, but my agent's out of town or they're unavailable." It is a pain point for people to have to sit there and swallow the fact that they're having to work around the agent's schedule when it really shouldn't be like that. So when I talk to somebody, I say, "Hey, here's what I want you to understand. Here's what's in it for you. Whenever you want to go and see something, regardless of what I've got going on, I'll stop what I'm doing and make sure that it's coordinated and get it set up for you. And I'll get you all the information on the house. And again, it's my role to find out everything about this house, call the agent. I'll do all of those things. But just know, whenever you want to go see something, any point of the day, as long as the house is available, you can go and see it. You don't have to worry about my schedule." Oh, that's great. That's that with them. So if I'm talking to anybody, whether it's a brand new person that I'm talking to that wants to go and see a house, or any source for that matter, I just say, look, can we talk for a minute? I want to explain something to you and how this process works. And we've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about the value of a virtual call. That virtual call is setting the expectation for, this is how we're going to operate. I might have somebody that's getting out and going and doing the legwork, but man, you're at home, you put the kids down. I've got 2 small kids. I got to get them to sleep. I ran a virtual call last night from 8 to 8:30 for somebody that's going to go out and go and see houses tomorrow evening. And I have another virtual call that I completed this morning before this with somebody else that's going and doing it. So Friday, Afternoon, I'm able to go and pick up my daughter from school, go out to eat with my family, relax, and somebody else is out there showing the houses, and I'm 100% confident that they're going to do a really good job of that. And then once I get back home, get the kids to sleep, I can jump on the computer. I can kind of recap how things went, how what went well, what didn't go so well. Let's jump on another virtual call and talk about that a little bit more if we need to pivot. And if you want to offer on it, then that's given us an opportunity to go through the offer and what that's going to look like. So I think that this has got to be something that, again, I think people adopt across the board. We've got to leverage something that's changed in society, which is just accommodation and the use of virtual resources. Brent mentioned it earlier. I really do think the days of going and having a cup of coffee or the first interaction I'm going to have with you at a house, I think that the things and the resources that we have available need to be leveraged. The big reason why I want to do it, as Brent mentioned, what I'm really good at is a lot of the coordinating, the lead conversion, talking to folks, getting them past their objections, getting them from point A to point B. I can do an effective job of helping you out. I'll just have somebody else that goes and opens the door, but I'm going to let you know before you even get into that house what I'm seeing online. Hey, here's a seller's disclosure. I'm emailing them the seller disclosure, the MLS input sheet, all of those things before they even get there. I'm like, hey, I want you to, when you walk that house, to look for this specifically. I want you to take a look at that. This is what I'm seeing. I called the agent. They let me know about this. So they have a good idea. All they're doing is just vetting their opinion of the house based on the photos when they get there. And it's because of that that I think that the best way of doing this is leveraging a showing service. We talk about the money. Average transaction price point in North DFW is about $500,000. If you have somebody that you're working with, that you're at the mercy of their schedule and you're having to coordinate with them, 10% on a 3% commission is $1,500 for that person, even if they show just one house. If I have somebody that shows 10 houses that are opening doors, we're paying $500 for that. It's a huge difference. So, but to answer your question again, it's all about setting expectations. If I know someone that's a past client or sphere, someone in my personal life, I'll just tell them, look, man, you understand what I'm going through. I've got kids. I don't want you to have to worry about that. When and where do you want to go? I'll get this set up for you. After you get done, let's jump on a call and see how it went. It is
Yeah.
as
And
simple as that.
Michael, I would say that what really pushed the gas pedal and just sped this process up was COVID. And it's what told us we needed to distance ourselves from people. And once we got that, that has stayed. We still see the person driving down the road by themselves with their mask on, and like that person's strange, but it's my, fresh air is going to get you. But I will say for me, though, I've had past clients as they have seen our business grow and they've seen Facebook posts and whatever it is. Oh, another house sold, another house sold, and that's not meant to be a humble brag. But when they go, they would call me and say, "Hey, we're thinking about selling and buying. I saw this house. Can you have one of your team members show it to me? I know you." And they'll say this like, "Oh, you're." I was like, "Well, I would say, well, I'll show it to you." Like, "Oh, I figured you'd be too big time for that." And Claire, I bet you've had people say that to you before, like, yeah, exactly. So, because you're a high producing agent, it's one of those things where once that happens, it's like there's this weird thing in their head sometimes that say that, like, oh, Brent's like too good for you now, which is ridiculous because we love our clients and we usually end this up like, man, that person's my friend now. And that's the coolest part of it. And it can still be that way. There are other ways to see these people, whether it's client events or anything like that. But most stuff is done on social anyway. I would have to say that as many friends as I have through just being 46 and going to college and living in different places, I hang out with like 3 people. That's it. So and it's family and it's in-laws. That's who I hang out with. I mean, Michael and I see each other every day at work, and he's only invited me to his house once in 2 years. I'm still mad about that. But I will say though, I think that it's just we have to get over ourselves and push yourself out there. And I will add this too, is a whole nother conversation for a whole bunch of other agents. Is about starting a team. At what point do you start a team? How do I start a team? And I can tell you, and Lance Loken is a Keller Williams agent. I think he's still a Keller Williams in Houston. Huge. He's one of the top producers in the country. That guy does probably over $1 billion a year in real estate. I mean, he's awesome. But when I was with Keller Williams years and years ago, I went and talked to him. He spoke at the Angelica Theater in Plano, and I went and talked to him and about starting a team. And every single person that got up and talked about their team, they talked about how they did everything wrong. And I said, "Oh, perfect. I am on my way to having a successful team because I feel like I've done everything wrong this entire time." I started with getting an agent first and getting leads and start funneling leads. I think if I was to go back and redo this, and I started producing, the first thing I would do is have a good transaction coordinator slash administrative person. And then I'd go down the partner route. Instead of splitting 50% of your time, you are never, as if you have a partner, it is an extension of you, and you are taking the lion's share of the commission, meaning your ROI and your profitability as a business owner is as high as it can possibly be. With a team, your agents are going to be your lowest profitability. And that's why Michael calls it a micro team, because we have kind of a team within a team where we're doing this. We are still trying to twist our agents' arms to do some of this, and they're getting through some of that limiting belief. We have an agent right now who him and his wife are talking about getting an RV and start going around the country with their kids. Like, they're only young once. They homeschool their kids already. I was like, well, gosh, what a perfect. He's like, I say, well, you know how you continue to make your bills? You do this partner model. It's like, you can be in another state. You could be at a campsite somewhere and someone else is handling your business, and you've got, Wi-Fi where you're at. So it's just, everyone's got a different reason. But I think that for the team, this partner model couldn't be more profitable, because Michael, for example, will set, and we said this last week on last week's call, he can set 7 new appointments a week part-time, because he helps with training and sales with the team. But he's one of the weirdos that likes to just call leads. He just loves it. He loves to prospect. And he can set 7 new appointments. 5 to 6 of those are virtual. Out of those 5, 4 are showing up. And out of those 4 that show up to virtual calls, he's getting buyer reps from 2 or 3. Every single week, he's getting 2 or 3 buyer reps signed. And he is leveraging that partner model, because what is the most bang for his buck? It's to be on that phone. When he came on board, he was with a company that he could outproduce everybody, and he never got paid any more for it. And now he's sitting there in front of I like to use the analogy of the slot machine at the casino. He's pulling that thing, and, every however many times he's hitting the jackpot and he's getting a buyer rep. It's like, man, why wouldn't I do this all day long? And that's his thought process. If we could clone Michael and have 10 of him, we'd be the craziest team in the world. But, that's just, everybody's got a different reason. And his is to sit there and to talk to more people and to create more opportunities. And that's his strength. And you need to stay where your strength is. So.
Yeah. And, what's really nice is, I'll give you a really good example. A couple of months ago, it was really nice outside. I had been working a lot, and I told my wife, I was like, man, I really want to get out and maybe go to the zoo, take the kids to the zoo. My daughter's at an age now where she's like starting to understand the things that are going on with animals, and she's getting curious about all that stuff. So I called my mother and stepfather, and so the group of us took my 2 kids to the Dallas Zoo and walked around and just enjoyed myself. I didn't have to sit there and stress over things. While I was doing that, there were 3 different sets of clients that were going out and seeing houses, and I got to sit there and have lunch. And then there was another set of clients I went and saw that afternoon. Just enjoy my day, get back home, have dinner, put the kids to sleep, and then from 8 to 9, I just kind of send out some text messages, some emails, like, how did everything go? Let's talk a little bit about it. And it's a Saturday. College football's on, or UFC is on. I get to go and watch that, and I can just sit there and work on my computer and be highly effective and highly productive doing it that way. And man, it's so nice thinking about that. And when we talk about what the future state of this is going to look like, there's somebody that we know that leverages this model and has taken the next step that I think long term I'd like to see us take, just full disclosure, which is you asked me the question about your sphere and things like that, people that are used to talking to you on your cell phone. What this person does is he uses Sierra Interactive, and I know every CRM you probably have an associated number to it. He tells everybody, even his closest friends, his brother, like, if you want to go and see houses, communicate with me on this phone number. And what it does is whenever they go into his website and they look at the houses, he tells them to put in the request for the times that you want to see. So they go into the website, look at the homes that he sent to him, put in the requests, and then he's got a team of about 5 virtual assistants that are essentially just on call. And whoever takes it first is the person that's going to take care of it. And what that person is doing is, let's just say somebody goes in, requests to go and see 5 houses this Saturday and puts in the generic times. One of his virtual assistants will see that communication, that inbound communication. What they'll then do is go ahead and go into his MLS or go into Broker Bay or Showing Time, schedule all those showings, look up on the Waze app like what traffic's going to look like, then get everything scheduled for him on Shawami and get that all scheduled, follow up via email with the person that wants to go and see, hey, here's who's going to be meeting with you, here are the times, sends the documents and everything like that. And then even when it comes time, like say that person wants to write an offer, same sort of effect takes place, is where they put together the offer based on what he's telling them. And this person essentially lives on vacation. Now he's got a lot of responsibility. He does a lot of work. He oversees everything. He's just allowing the people that he's employing to do these little tasks for him, because even if you want to use Showami to go out and go and show 10 houses, it takes a little bit of time to sit there and schedule that stuff out and get it coordinated and confirm with that person. So it's really, really, really leveraging your time as best as possible. And when you think about people that, the whole idea behind this is not only for personal life balance and to be able to get more accomplished, but it should take somebody that's transacting 10 houses a year to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because you're getting more time back to do the things that are going to move forward. One of the worst things ever is if you in a week or a couple weeks happen to talk to like 5 people and they're all very interested, but then you go and show one person, maybe 2, you're putting the other people on the back burner, and then you lose them. They go cold. You don't talk to them anymore. They get on Zillow. They find somebody else to take care of them. If you can take care of all of them at the same time, you can do a really good job of it because you're in the zone focusing on these things, but you've got somebody else doing a lot of this legwork for you. And the only drawback that I've seen to this point with leveraging paying somebody by door, and again, it's all about setting expectations, is new construction specifically. If you schedule somebody to go to new construction, there's a different conversation that happens there in the sales office as opposed to going and looking at a pre-owned home when you don't have another sales agent involved. So if you're going to have a partner or somebody that opens doors, go out and go and show at new construction, I think it's important that you call the sales agent for that builder and set that expectation with them specifically about, when it comes time to negotiate things, I need you to let me know, because I have seen some situations with some builders, which I'm not going to say any names, where they'll try to circumvent the agent. And if you're not there and somebody else is really just kind of there just to be there for them, that's one of the things about using someone that is because they know to interject at the right time in those interactions with sales agents, whereas somebody that's just going to open a door is just kind of there, so that's the only, I wouldn't say drawback. Again, it's just all about setting expectations and navigating that conversation. But that's the only time that I've seen where it's like, there's maybe a little question mark there.
Yeah, I think that you went back to, hey, I sell 5 houses, I want to go to 10 to 20. That may not be what your goal is. It may be someone that is, hey, I want to make, because let's talk about our market specifically. You can sell 10 houses and make a decent living in this market. You can survive off selling 3 or 4 of the right houses. So you can sell 3 million in real estate and make $90,000 based on the commission, And so for a lot of people, hey, my goal is to make $150,000. Well, that's That's not that much in real estate. That could be as low as 5 million in real estate. If you just did new construction, it could be less than that. My point is on saying that is, well, how much time did they spend on that? Well, they were in their car, they were doing this, and the reason they wanted, hey, 150 is cool. I'm comfortable with that. Fine. It's not on me to put my goals on you. Your goals are yours. Stay in that. That's fine. But how much of that time, if I could say, hey, now you've got your Saturdays and Sundays back with your kids. What is that worth? What is that return on investment for your family? My real estate coach, Eric Hatch, would tell me, is your family getting your leftovers? And that really like hit me, because I'd come home all day at work, stressed out, and then you, like, when you're stressed, you can lash out at your family and things like that. Are they getting your leftovers? Is the prime version of you going towards work? Well, there's a way to shift that. And this happens even with us who want to continue on trying to produce more and more. I can tell you that our goal as a micro team, just with me and Michael and partners, next year's 50 million. Now that's a pretty hefty goal. If we do that, man, it's gonna be awesome. And that's massive profitability. So it just depends on what it is for everyone. I know we've got a few minutes left. This is at a very high level, but it's something that we're doing that next iteration in 2025, and it probably won't be in Q1 with the virtual assistant versus hiring an assistant here to do that. That virtual assistant is $5, $6, $7 an hour. It's very inexpensive. They're generally working like 20 hours a week. And that's kind of full time for them, and having multiple people doing that. The other iteration of this is there is a way to do this on your listings as well. And it's like, how do you do this? Well, how do I go do a listing appointment with me not being there? I'm struggling with that limiting belief right now. So if I figure that one out, I'll make sure to let everyone know. But there is a way to do that. And where I have to figure it out is if we did make that leap and move to Tennessee, if that's our goal, well, I better figure it out. So those are the things that are coming. Again, this is not hypothetical. So this is something that we've been implementing, and we feel like we're getting really granular on our SOP with this, and we're winning with it big time. Now, are Michael and I slowing down? Not really, because we just have this mindset. We talked about goals on Tuesday with our team, and just, what went well and what didn't. And one of the things that really struck a chord with me, Michael said that he kind of escapes into his work. And I felt like, gosh, that's really me too. Where I have my wife's process in the morning is get up, get her coffee, have some quiet time, do all this. That is not me at all. I wake up, I get in the shower, I don't drink coffee, I get dressed and leave. And it's like, I'm ready to go to work. Let's go. My mind is, all right, when I go to bed, my mind is thinking about work. When I'm getting up, I'm thinking about work. So that is my escape from, just like Michael. And so usually when you're like that, we work too much. And so it is what it is. And it's something that I am actually working on as well. But before we let everybody go, do we have any questions on anything on this? Again, the company is Showami. It's something you register for, SHOWAMI.com. That's who we use. If this is ever something that you want to test this out, how to test it out, just a beta test and see if it works, reach out to us. You guys have our numbers, and I do think that we're live on Facebook on our coaching page with Dusty Oglesby and Defined Coaching. So we are part of that now, as of we announced that this week. And so we are doing that, and that's why these Thursdays calls are going to continue. We will not have one next Thursday. I'm going to be eating turkey and getting fat. So and taking a nap. And it's going to be awesome. And playing with a ton of little kids. It's going to be a blast. So
Boys Giants prime nap territory.
heck yeah. Nothing. You just eat and then nap and then eat some more and then nap and then go throw a football out and run around and realize how old you are. It's pretty fun. So, all right. Well, cool, good stuff. Great call. Thank you for all that you do, Michael, and talk to you everyone next week. Bye.